Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody today to Voting 2020, a how-to guide. This is presented by Student Legal Services. We have over 100 years of legal experience here. You have free confidential attorneys at the University of Florida. This has been prepared by two of our very diligent students, Daylene Frank and Abby Worthington, who will also be working and joining us today. Special thanks to UF Pride, Alachua County Human Rights Coalition, UF Student Government. Ryan Gavin works with the U.S. Student Government in promoting this event. Jamie Owen, an attorney at University of Central Florida in Student Legal Services, one of our colleagues, provided helpful tips. And once again, I'd like to welcome Commissioner Reina Sacco today. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for attending. We appreciated so much your advice last time. We're also joined today by TJ Piche, who's from the Supervisor of Elections, who will be providing helpful tips as well. Without further ado, let's move forward. We wish to extend our wishes for everyone's safety during this period. Please abide by quarantine and safety laws. We also want you to know that we stand with our students speaking out against racism and discrimination always. Please contact your student legal service attorneys if you need specific help. Know that we're free, that we're available, and that there are almost always legal options available to address any issues that you have. You can type in Google free lawyers at UF, or just go to the link here, studentlegalservices.ufl.edu. You don't have to take any pictures of this particular presentation. At the very end, I'll provide a link that'll lead you to a PDF format of it that you can share with others. Disclaimer, the information provided is educational nature, and we've made every attempt to be accurate, but realize this is not intended to constitute specific voting advice, and is certainly not a substitute for contacting your local supervisor of elections where you live. The information contained herein is that of U.S. Student Legal Services, not necessarily those of UF, Board of Trustees, the Board of Governors, or the state of Florida. About our office, we've been providing free confidential legal services to students since 1977. We're funded by your student government activity and service fees. We're located in room 3500 of the Rights Union. Right now, we're not accepting walk-in clients at this time because of COVID, but know that we are available. Contact us. I'll provide the contact information again at the end of this session. But we are doing phone and Zoom consultations. We're one of the first programs. We grew out of the student rights movements of the 60s and 70s, and now we're happy to say that there are over 250 fellow programs in the U.S. and abroad. Our staff combines 105 years of experience. We're led by John Adcock, who is our director, and Alicia Tebeg, our associate director. My name is Lane Prebor, and we also have Ray Coffin and Joy Thomas, our administrative assistant. While the attorneys bring 105 years, I always want to give a special shout out to Joy Thomas, our administrative assistant, because of everything that she does to make sure that the office runs smoothly. And she also brings over 8 years of legal experience on her own. We're able to go with you in court on these types of cases: landlord-tenant, name changes, removing criminal records for background checks, and dissolution of marriages, step-parent adoptions. We're also able to assist you, if not necessarily go to court with you. Hopefully, if we do our job right in these areas, we won't have to go to court. These range on everything from a simple traffic ticket to insurance matters, particularly during COVID-19, medical insurance and billing issues. Consumer matters such as if you buy a car and the car breaks down and you need help with it. Property damage, powers of attorney, living wills, and healthcare surrogates. I cannot stress getting health documents prepared, particularly during the COVID-19 time. We also do free notaries available on site. We also have remote during COVID-19 notarizations available. Okay, turning it over to Dave Frank, who's going to help me from this point on. Voting 2020, what you need to know.
Hello. Okay, so this is a code that was sent to me by the head of the English department. And it basically helps you to, if you scan it with your phone, you'll be able to go to a website, TurboVote, that will help you to register to vote or request your mail-in ballot. It's just a way to do it quickly so that students don't put off registering to vote or requesting a mail-in ballot. Somebody is Okay, trying to enter. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so you can register to vote anytime in Florida, but you have to be registered 29 days prior to an election to vote for that particular election. You don't need to register every few years, but if you do change your address, you need to let your supervisor of elections know. You have to vote in accordance with your precinct, and your precinct is determined by where you live, your address. And the residence for voting is whatever you say it is. So it's whatever address you give them is where you can vote. You also have to bring an ID with a signature with you when you go to your polling place. So election day is November 3rd, 2020. It's on a Tuesday. The deadline to register to vote is on October 5th, which is a Monday. And this link right here that is in this slide, the first link, will give you all the important dates for this this upcoming election. So the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on election day, but even if you are still in line after 7 p.m., you still will be able to vote. You can find your precinct and polling place using this website that is below. Next slide, please. Okay, so to vote in Florida, you need to bring a valid photo ID with a signature. If you do not bring proper ID with you, you can still vote by using a provisional ballot. And provisional ballot basically means that it's a ballot that is, they're going to be, since you don't have an ID with a signature, they need to make sure that you are the person that you say you are. So yes, next slide, please. Any of these are acceptable: a driver's license, a photo identification card, a passport, debit or credit card, military identification, student identification, retirement center identification, neighborhood association identification, public assistance identification, veteran health identification, or a license to carry a concealed weapon or firearm, and employee identification issued by a branch, department, agency of the Florida government. Next slide, please. Okay, so some practical tips, excuse me. If you're in line, stay in line, bring water and snacks with you. Get a sample ballot so that you can know who's going to be on the ballot. And perhaps you can even do some research while you're in line. Check with the local county to see if you can bring your own pen or even gloves, since, you know, we're in a pandemic. And check to see if you can request your mail-in ballot. And you'd have to check with your county for that and see if you can drop it off in person.
Oh, hey, well, we have PJ here, or TJ here. TJ, can we ask you, can you bring your own pen to the particular precinct to vote if you vote?
Yeah, you could bring your own pen. It's our preference that you use the one that we provide you, because the machines have a certain, you know, if too many pens that don't necessarily mimic the ones that we use or used, it could mess up the machine momentarily. But we wouldn't stop you from using your own pen.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I know we're working on the idea of maybe giving everybody a pen.
That would be great. Or sanitizing them, so difficult, right? Everyone.
Right, and just giving them out.
Okay. Can you also bring gloves?
Yeah, you can bring as much PPE as you want, and if you show up without a mask, we'll offer you one.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Next slide, please.
Okay. I think this is, make sure that's the right slide there. Okay.
So, how to find polling places. To find polling places in Florida, you can basically go on the voter information lookup, which is this website below that first sentence. And if you live in Alachua County, you can just go to the votelatro.com and look up your So we're gonna over some instructions for navigating the site. Basically, you'd enter your house number with the street name, but you don't include the directions. It should pop up for you later on, and you just click on it. And then your precinct information will be displayed. Next slide, please. And this is just an example using an apartment complex. And so you will see that the street name, excuse me, the directions southwest is listed there, but I didn't actually enter that. I just put 51st Terrace and then it popped up later on. Then I clicked on it and then it pulled that up. And also here are, on the next picture, you will see that you not only do you get your precinct, but you also get a sample ballot and some important dates to know about elections. So it gives you when registration closes, when early voting begins, when it ends, and also election date.
That's great. And Day, I can vouch for the site. I've used it like a couple of times to look up my address and works perfectly. It's an excellent site.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is mail-in voting? So there's been a lot of talk in the news about mail-in voting and absentee voting, but basically they're used interchangeably. I did some research. I read this Washington Post article entitled "What's the Difference Between Absentee and Mail-in Voting" by Michelle Yi He Lee. And she said that both absentee and mail-in voting refer to the method of using the mail to deliver ballots to voters. So basically, the reason why they're called that is because you're using the mail to send your ballots. You're not physically there at the polling place. So some other important steps to know about mail-in voting. Any registered voter may vote by mail. Once registered, you are eligible to vote by mail for up to 2 years. So for this period, the next time where you have to re-register probably be by December 31st, 2022. Ballots have to be sent in 40 to 33 days prior to an election. But if you have missed this period of the 40 to 33 days, then you would have to send your ballot back within 2 days of receiving it. Also, if you want your ballot mailed to you, you would have to request the ballot by October 24th, 2020. So I believe that's 10 days before the election. And you have to do it by 5 p.m.
So if I may for a second, I was helping my baby sister who's 20 register for her vote by mail because she's frequently been able to come home for it. But we ran into an affidavit that she has to sign as well because the address of her university is an address not associated with her home address. So they're making her sign an extra documentation as well. So if you are voting by mail for the first time and you're away at college or away in Gainesville and you want to vote back home, it is a good suggestion to do it earlier to see what other bumps on the road there may be. So having that affidavit also requested the mail-in ballot, but it's now something else that you have to watch out for and make sure that it gets sent on time instead of just doing it online. So if you're voting by mail for the first time, do this early and check it out. Or you can register to vote. Is it too late to register to vote here, TJ? It is not too late to register to vote.
Commissioner Sacco, the only time or the situation that makes it so that you have to provide that signature is if you're requesting your ballot be mailed to you at a specific address once and not just having all of your elections mail moving forward going to that address. So if she had updated her address to reflect that she gets her mail wherever it is that she's getting her ballot, then she wouldn't have had to do the additional step.
But we don't, what was my question? It's not too late to register to vote just yet, right?
Nope, not too late. October 5th is the deadline.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Okay, so you can't pick up your mail-in ballot on election day, except if you have an emergency. Then the person who's picking up the ballot has to submit an affidavit. You have to make sure that your ballot is returned to the supervisor of elections by 7 p.m. on election day. When requesting your mail-in ballot, you'll have to be aware that the signature on, like when you're going to send it again, the signature on the back of the envelope has to match the signature that they have on file for you. And if it doesn't, then you would have to submit an online registration form to update your signature. And this link will give you more information about that. Okay. So who can vote by mail in Alachua County? If you are registered to vote in Alachua County, you can vote by mail. If you're living in Alachua County, but you're qualified to vote somewhere else, then you would have to request your mail-in ballot from the county or state where you are registered, or change the address to reflect the current address. Am I saying that right, TJ? Change the address to reflect the current address where you're at. That's correct, right?
If you are living in Alachua County but remaining in another county, you should request. So, say it again. I'm sorry. I was looking down at something.
If you're, I think I said it wrong actually. You're correct. If you're living temporarily in Alachua County, then you would have to either change where you're originally, like where you're registered to vote to reflect where you are currently, or request your mail-in ballot to the
and
where you're,
there temporarily is, a student may view themselves as living here temporarily, but they're entitled to register to vote and vote here if they choose to. Temporarily is a little bit, I guess, subjective in that, the folks who move here are here for 4 years or 6 years or whatever, but they're able to register and vote here.
Yeah, so they would just have to change their address to reflect their
And
address.
you can do that actually after the deadline. So the October 5th deadline is simply the deadline to get registered. But if you're already registered in another county, then you can update your registration through election day. So that's why you'll see at the Rights Union sometimes, if it's a big election, there's lots of students who end up waiting in line because they don't update their addresses prior to election day. And we have to go through the administrative process on election day of updating their address, and that takes a lot longer.
And if I can do a shameless plug for registering to vote where you live, temporarily could be 6 months, could be a year, could be 4 years, but you as a student will be part of a community for those 4 years. And after you, there will likely be someone, similar to you in 90% of the ways, who will think like you and will want a lot of the same resources. So it is important to kind of register where you are. Because then that influences the community that you live in. And again, trying to make myself maybe seem like I have a cool job. I get to decide the day-to-day of the city, and that gets decided by people who vote in Alachua County and in the city of Gainesville. So if students aren't voting in that, they don't really get a say in the day-to-day decisions that impact the city. So if you aren't, horribly attached to your home county and you want to vote here, you should definitely register to vote here, and you can.
And I don't think I know it wasn't my intention, and it may not have been Commissioner Sacco's intention or Lane's intention to stay here after graduating, yet here we are. So 4 years turned into whatever it is now.
Absolutely, yeah. And I would just echo the sentiments that were expressed that, we try to encourage our students to be engaged, civically engaged. And sometimes I think it's forgotten that the university is part of the greater Gainesville and Alachua County community. And it's something that we do reinforce here. So thank you. Thank everyone for their comments. And again, I want to thank the students that are attending today, and especially Day and Abby, for being so locally engaged as well.
Okay, thank you guys. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do I request a mail-in ballot for myself? Basically, everything would be done through your supervisor of elections. You can use their website. You can request a ballot in person, through the mail, by phone, or by fax. Your request must include your name, your current address, your date of birth, and your signature. If you don't live in Alachua County anymore, you have to update your information to reflect the county that you currently live in. It is also important to remember that if you will not be at your resident address to receive your mail-in ballot, then you have to let the supervisor of elections know. You have to let them know where to send the ballot to. And you can you can request to send it to your temporary address. You just have to have your residential address on file. That's right, TJ, right? TJ?
Yeah, that's right. And you just have to be registered to vote already. And you do have to provide in that case, I think it's your name, your date of birth, your address where you're registered, and also a signature.
Okay. So this section, fourth section is important because the USPS cannot forward your ballot to you if they send it to your resident address and you're not there. You'd have to request a new ballot. So just make sure that you let them know which address to send it to. And the website to the website to request a mail-in ballot is this one that is provided in this slide. Next slide, please. So more information about requesting a ballot. In-person requests can be made at this address right here that is inside the slide. And hours of operations are from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And there is also the address for you to send your mail requests. And there's an English form and a Spanish form. Phone requests can be made by calling this phone number. The same hours of operation apply. And there is the website for website requests. And also there is a number for fax requests. How to send in the correct ballot. So you would have to, so the normal mailing days for mailing a mail-in ballot is 40 to 33 days before an election. But if you miss that period, then you have to send it within 2 days of receiving, 2 days? It's 2 days of receiving your ballot, right?
What that's saying is, if you request like 31 days prior to the election, then we need to send it to you 29 days before the election. So 2 days, at least no more than 2 days after your request is made.
Oh, okay, so it's you guys sending it to us. Okay,
Yeah.
Excuse me. Please allow for sufficient time for the post office to deliver your ballot. So that means requesting your ballot early. If you haven't received your ballot within a reasonable time period, just keep checking with your supervisor of elections. And here is a phone number so that you can ask them any questions about any difficulties that you're having or any problems. And it's important to know to not wait a week before elections to do anything. Next slide, please. How to send in the correct ballot, part 2. So place your ballot inside the return envelope, seal it, and sign the back of the voter certificate. The voter certificate, which is on the back of the envelope. If you're overseas, please get adequate postage and allow enough time for your ballot to be delivered by election day. Voters may also, you may also return your signed ballot to the supervisor of elections in person or have someone else drop it off, but you may not drop it off at your precinct on election day. Okay, all ballots have to be received by the supervisor of elections by 7 p.m. on election day. And there is the address once again. Voters may also return their mail-in ballots to an early voting site during voting hours in a secure white drop box, which is available 24/7 outside the Alachua County Supervisor of Elections office. Next slide. How to track a mail-in ballot after you've returned it. So you can always contact the Supervisor of Elections to ask some questions, or you can go on the website and go to My Registration Status and insert information, and you'll be able to see the status of your ballot. I think, Raina, you spoke about this last time. You don't actually see if it was counted as a vote or something.
You won't see it just yet. So it'll show that they've received it, which is the important part. But if you send it in early, it won't show as kind of oh, what's the word? TJ, help me out.
It won't show counted. As long
Yeah.
as the third option, it'll say processed. And as long as that is blue, then you're good to go. If the third option is red and it doesn't say processed, then your ballot had some type of issue and you should contact us.
And
Okay.
you can fix it.
Also,
In most cases, you can fix it.
remember that the signature on the sign on the back has to match the signature on file.
And just to jump in, I'm sorry, it doesn't need to match. It just needs to compare to the signature on file.
Oh, okay. But if it doesn't compare, then you would have to submit an affidavit to fix this error. And you can fax it to that number or email mbruckman@alachuacounty.us. Next slide. So common mistakes is that the ballot is either received late, the voter certificate on the back is not signed, or the signature on the envelope does not compare. We can fix the language later. Compared to the signature on file. Please be careful to avoid these mistakes. Okay. So early voting has to be held for at least 8 days by law. The mandatory early voting periods for 2020 are October 24th to October 31st. But in Alachua County, the discretionary early voting periods are from October 19 to November 1st. So we get a couple extra days. And these are just some early voting places. I'm not going to go through all of them, but there is the Alachua County Supervisor of Elections, the library, the Rights Union, and there's a church as well. We can go to the next slide.
So actually, if I could really quickly,
Yeah,
you can go to any of these on early voting. So that's important to know. You don't have to go to any one. You can go to whichever you want. But if you're on campus, I strongly suggest using the Rights Union, because that was a really hard fought battle to have polling places on campus. So there were lawsuits left and right about being able to get early voting on college campuses for faculty, for staff who work there, for students who can't drive off or go somewhere else. And so if you can use the rights to show that it is being used as we thought it would. So it's as easy as any other polling site, but it's one that wasn't just given to us.
Okay, thank you for that. Next slide, please. Okay, Elaine, I believe this is you.
Great, thank you. Day always gets the most difficult, that center portion, I think. But that was excellent. Thank you so much. That was such concentrated information, and sounds like it comports with everything that we've heard from TJ and the commissioner. Real quick, this is sample ballot, a sneak peek, and I just wanted to show. I'm not saying sample ballot for everyone, but this is the sample ballot that was pulled up for my particular precinct and area where I live, and the ballot goes on, and TJ knows this for, pretty lengthy, but I included the top of it. I didn't include everything here. It's not magic or anything having a sneak peek at it. You can actually go to the Supervisor of Elections website and pull up the sample ballot and take a look at it. And it's already prepared there. And should be on mail-in voting, I believe, TJ, they're going to be mailing very soon. Isn't that right?
Yeah, the mail-in ballots actually go out today.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Very soon. Thank you. Okay, what's on the ballot? Everything from President of the United States, representative in Congress, state representative, the clerk of the circuit court, property appraiser, sheriff, supervisor of elections, tax collector, wow, Alachua County commissions, races, as well as the public defender and state attorney for our area, soil and water conservation district, Justice Supreme Court of Florida, District Court of Appeal, amendments and referendums. Wow, I went through everything there, Commissioner. Anything to add?
So you don't have to fill out the whole ballot if you aren't sure about the whole ballot. And so I know that there are folks who may say, like, I want to vote in the presidential, or I don't want to vote in the presidential, or I don't want to vote for this. You don't have to fill out the whole thing. It won't be invalidated if you don't bubble in everything. But if you can vote, go vote. And if you can vote at a local level, like I said earlier, that's really what determines your day-to-day. That determines your roads, that determines the education, that determines if you can drink outside on the sidewalk, that we've allowed that. That determines the people who get into office locally on a day-to-day level. And so you can research those. Normally your newspaper will put out some articles about, the Gainesville Sun always does here, will put out blurbs about each one, or let the candidates speak for themselves. It is a lot. And so a lot of we have, I think, 11 amendments or 7. I'm not good with numbers, but just for the city side, we have a lot. And then from the county, we have another couple. So that's just going to be a lot of information. It's really easy to get overwhelmed, but a lot of them have been spoken about in the news, local news, and it's easy to go find them through the Alligator or through the Sun, and you can get a lot of background info on them if you feel a little overwhelmed about the local options.
Yeah, if you live in the city of Gainesville, you have 17 amendments and referenda.
Wow. That's a lot. Thank you both for that information. There was something else I wanted to ask you, Commissioner, because it was something that you had mentioned the last presentation we did, and it was about that the commission offices are not necessarily, we always think binary. I think a lot of people think Republicans, Democrats, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are technically an nonpartisan position. So some of these positions are completely nonpartisan, and you won't see them on the ballot. It won't have a Republican or a Democrat or independent. It won't have any party affiliation. Because at least definitely us. Some of these are, but some of them it's just a person, and you do have to do some of your research there to find out, which candidate you'd like. Yeah, not every position is a partisan position. And so I remember someone once telling me, look, I run my city out in somewhere in California, and nobody cares which party fixes the potholes so long as you're fixing the potholes. And if that's what you're going to do, thank you. I'm going to vote for you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a good point. And, I just wanted to say that you and I, happened to run into each other at an event. We were discussing things, so I got to find out, about yourself, some policies and things City of Gainesville have. What would you recommend for our student and the larger community that may be watching this presentation? How do they find out about their commissioners? What's a good technique or method?
So you can actually just request a meeting with any of us for whatever. We have an online system, so you don't even have to call City Hall, but if you call City Hall, they'll set up a 20, 30-minute meeting, and you can ask whatever questions you want. That's one of the beauties of local government. We are way more accessible. I only have 135,000 people instead of a couple million if it were the state. So it's really, or you could run into me at the store. You are more likely to run into your local elected officials than you are ever likely to run into a state senator. And I will remember if someone is very upset or very excited about something I did, because I'm also living with that choice. So if anybody does want to meet with any of us, I'm going to speak for my colleagues for a minute. We are always happy to meet people, especially students who are interested. And it's very easy to just call up City Hall or go online through our request system. You can pick the date. It works on our calendar. It'll work, and it'll just automatically go in. It's pretty uncomplicated for anyone to come and talk to us.
That's great. Thank you so much for the accessibility. TJ, did you have something to add as well?
You can always call them too, and their phone numbers are very publicly available.
That they are.
For better or for worse, sometimes, I'm sure. Yeah, thank you so much. But everything's transparent, which I love, and I think it's really important. And do you get a lot of calls? I'm just curious. Is this something that happens a lot, or?
I don't know, TJ. Do I get a lot of calls?
I call her all the time. Anything that touches me, I get on the phone and I say, I'm not being listened to. I'm not feeling heard. I don't feel seen.
No, TJ and I were friends before we got into office, but no, I get out of the blue calls, and then I get scheduled calls. Like TJ said, my phone number is public information. So for better or worse, it's out there. It's just, I may not be able to answer because I might be in a meeting and you don't know that. But yeah, I'm happy to speak to anyone who has questions or comments or concerns. I may not be able to do something about it because it may be outside of my authority, but I'm always happy to talk to someone and see what we can do.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's wonderful. The accessibility, I think students always come and sometimes they have complaints, with us. And, I do encourage them to, make their feelings known if they feel strongly about an issue. So it's always great to have that contact, availability. And thank you for being so available. Means a lot. Helpful links very quickly. Alachua County Supervisor of Elections. I'll make sure. I think TJ has vetted this information at least. This is votealachua.com. You can go directly there. And again, I'll provide a link at the very end to all of these links, the complete PowerPoint, and just some of the issues that we were talking about with sample ballots, vote by mail, precinct finder are all available here as well. Voter information, I'm not advocating these particular guides, the Vote for 11 or the EAC.gov, but I have found that they're very useful for filling you in about the issues. The Vote 411 is the League of Women Voters that have been putting this together. It's considered, my understanding is neutral information, but informing you about the issues, okay? And again, we're not advocating for these particular sites, but just putting them out there. There's certainly many others as well. Florida Department of State also has these links available, including the elections dates and checking your voter status to make sure everything is okay. Final conclusion, just to let you know again about our legal services, 3500 Rights Union. Remember, right now during this period of COVID, we're available via phone, email, via Zoom. And here are the contact numbers: 392 if you're old school, LAWS if you actually use that alphanumeric keypad, but it's 5297. And the fax number is 392-1624. studentlegalservices.ufl.edu. This is our email, SLS, doesn't have to be caps, can be small, at ufsa.ufl.edu. I get a few questions. Why is it UFSA? And it's University of Florida Student Affairs, okay? A lot of the departments are going to be going into including their department name before the ufl.edu. We're just one of the first ones to do so. The presentation link that I promised everyone is right here, very easy, the bit.ly/SLS dash voting, okay? So you can either write it down and or you can take a picture and go directly to that site, and you will have links to this complete PowerPoint. The reason we're doing it today, and I thank everyone for being here, is that we want to get the information out there. We want to make sure that everybody knows how to vote. And if you follow the guides here, I hope that that'll allow you to do so. TJ, the commissioner, I can't thank you enough. For the students that are available, here's the workshop feedback that we have. You can use this, is it Q code? I'm trying to remember. You can hold up your phone, take a picture of it, or click on the link here if you go to that bit.ly site, presentation evaluation. We love the feedback on it. Again, thank you. We'll turn to the question and answer. TJ, Commissioner, is there anything, I'm going to knock off the recording. Is there anything you'd like to say before I knock the recording button off at this point? Again, I want to thank you so much for being here and in support of our students and the community.
Yeah, I think my main message is, take a few minutes to make sure you're registered and your information is up to date. Because if you do so now, it makes it a lot easier heading into Election Day. Consider voting by mail, consider voting early. As a student, your polling place, if you live on campus, is the Rights Union. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to vote on Election Day. You can use those other options.
Great, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that.
I would say vote, just vote in general. I come from a country where I wouldn't have been able to vote. And I know when I was campaigning and I was on campus, I had a lot of international students come up and say, man, I wish I could vote. That seems like such a great thing. I can't do that back home. So vote if you have that opportunity. It is a huge and tremendous privilege. And you literally get to choose from the very top all the way down to the city how your government could be run. And that is a huge opportunity right there. So however you vote, just vote.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I really appreciate that. Day, Abby, do you have any comments at this time? or hi, Day.
Yeah,
Good,
I would
great to
just
have you back.
say around the same thing. Yeah, it's really important, I think, especially in this election that we vote. Yeah. Um, I think we talked about this last time where it was like even like just it doesn't take that many votes to make a difference or to impact the election on like a major level. So getting everybody out to vote is really what we're trying to do over here.
I thank you so much. Yeah, I should have checked and researched this closer, but some people would say that it came down to 400 votes or so in Florida for the 2000 presidential election. So that goes to show you that 400 individuals could potentially impact a national election because of the electoral vote system.
Mhm.
That's a excellent point to make there. Um, is it okay right now? I'm going to knock the recording off and we can open it up to other commentary and questions and answers at this time, if that's okay with everybody. Great. Thank you.